Suit up, take cover, Gears is back. It's fair to say you are more than allowed to jump into Gears of War Judgment with an air of trepidation. After all, Gears has always been the other big Xbox franchise, always been solid, terrific fun, but never escalating to that legendary status to which Master Chief and Halo have risen to. Gears, as good as it always has been, has always kind of lingered there in the background, reminding us that it does exist and it is ready to last forever. We get instantly reminded of this whenever we hear Mad World by Gary Jules. With Gears of War being successful as it is, selling a mighty 90 million copies worldwide with toys, apparel, graphic novels, and of course the Karen Travis books, where does Judgment fit in? It's unmistakably Gears of War. It has that orange tint which follows the game everywhere and is terrifically violent. There was a feeling throughout though that I just couldn't shake, a feeling of worry to the extent that I didn't almost want to carry on. More or less everything you do in Judgment you've done 100,000 times before in previous entries. They're as familiar and as overly familiar. It's worrying for a franchise to focus on its key gameplay aesthetic. Developer Epic Games and People Can Fly seem far too set in their ways, and it shows on the screen. That's not to say there is anything particularly wrong with that, but it's absolutely clear the target audience for this game is Gears of War fans. Again, nothing wrong with that, but if you've never been interested in Gears of War, Judgment does practically nothing which will allow you to change your mind.
Mortars! The grubs are gonna flatten that house if we don't stop them.
Judgment is set years before the original and is primarily focused on the Kilo Squad, a select troop of soldiers fronted by one Damon Baird, supported by the Gears of War legend that is Augustus the Coltrane Cole. They are supported by Garen Paruk and the ass-kicking yet worryingly stereotyped woman in a man's world, Sophia Hendrick. They're thrown into a broken city of Halbo Bay in an attempt to overthrow a terrifying new enemy which has come from the underground. The game opens with the Kilo Squad being captured by their superiors and thrown into a tribunal hearing as they are being tried for war crimes. We discovered that the squad had disobeyed a direct order to not set off a missile to attack Halbo Bay, and the campaign itself plays out in the form of flashbacks from this hearing. It's a nice angle for the series to take, and it's definitely an enjoyable story to play through. The twists and turns of it all are engaging and highlight the thought which goes into the game and Gears of War franchise as a whole. While it's primarily about soaring ugly aliens in half, there is also a strong heart beating throughout the game, which is a solid reason why fans keep coming back. Suffice to say, if you're steeped in Gears folklore, the story here will keep your interest. It's great to see that the aftermath of Emergence Day plays out before your eyes. The story itself is fine, and it's played out in such a way that the flashbacks do make sense. It's not entirely difficult to follow, and although the dialogue can be a bit off sometimes, it never delves too cheesy or indeed too complicated. There are strong emotional beats, something you have come to expect from the series, which gives the whole point of Judgment a solid backbone. It's a shame then that the gameplay suffers from an indelicate level of indecisiveness. It's a campaign which feels and plays more like a series of mini-games, similar to, say, Firefight and Halo, but with a strong story running through it all. The series' fantastic horde mode seems to have been the inspiration for this campaign, with level after level of gunning down a tyrannical level of locusts and more. The persistent flood of enemies does get overly tiresome after a while, and by the middle of the campaign you do wish that it would just let up just slightly, so you can actually enjoy the time you have with the game. It seems each level is around about an hour or so long, divided into 15-minute sections where you just shoot down some enemies and run to take cover, then do it again. Yes, this is Gears of War, and it's always been like this, but in the past the games have been structured far better than this, allowing you time to explore and recover between battles. Judgment never really lets up unless you're walking somewhere, and the actual gameplay outside of the battles is literally just walking from one straight into another. The inclusion of the S3 system, the smart spawn system, is a welcome addition though. Essentially what it does is ensure that every time you play the game it's unique, as locations of enemies and timing will differ each time you play, offering up a new challenge every time you load up the game, which is nice.
Of course, sir. It's through that gate.
A highlight though is the survival mode, and it's where I found to have the most fun across the entire game. Teaming up with a team of Gears across the world, it's up to you to take down wave after wave of locusts while protecting generators and covering up emergence holes. It all runs as smooth as you would expect, and the feeling of teamwork is far more rewarding here than, say, Call of Duty, where teams don't really exist and you just run around shooting nothing at all. It's certainly not easy dealing with locusts, reviving teammates, conserving ammo and jumping out of the way of some loose grenades, but the intensity certainly keeps you on your toes. I'm a big fan of survival with a group of friends, you can't really go wrong there. Games are quick and easy to find. Mind you, I was playing this pre-release, so there were exactly 14 people online at one point, and you jumped into matches efficiently with very little effort. If you're thinking of picking up this game, survival should keep you going for a fair while. So for me, this is the difficult part. I've gone back and forth over what to score Gears of War Judgment for days, and I believe I've come to the fairest conclusion. Yes, Gears of War Judgment is a very good game. The gameplay, while worryingly familiar, is solid and a good bit of fun, and the visuals complement the action nicely with great fluidity and draw distances. The survival mode is brilliant online, and there's enough collectibles and more to grab to keep you playing for a long while yet. However, a new Gears of War is just that, a new Gears of War. There's nothing here which will appeal to you if you've not yet jumped into the series, and its lack of innovation in almost every area does restrict the game from being an absolute must-have title. The said gameplay is solid, but you'd never feel like you're doing anything different to what you've done from the last 3 previous Gears titles. It's not overtly a bad thing, the Gears trilogy is brilliant after all. It's just 4 games into the series, you can't hope they would try something unique with the cover-based system which Gears practically invented. It's a complete cliche, I know, but what the hell, Gears of War Judgment is the epitome of this phrase. If you like Gears of War, you're going to love this, pure and simple. If you don't like Gears of War, you're going to despise it. It really is as simple as that. Gears of War Judgment is available on the 22nd of March on Xbox 360. All footage from this game was captured with Roxio's Game Capture HD Pro.
I hereby charge Kilo Squad with desertion, cowardice, trespassing, the theft of experimental military technology, and treason. Does that sound about right to you, Lieutenant Bear?